Welcome back to the White Paper channel. I want to go through these slides pretty quickly as this is just a brief review of what was discussed at the Piper Sandler Healthcare Conference. So, a number of topics were discussed and not much detail was given to any particular topic. So first they discussed COVID, and Bancel, the CEO, said that he expects yearly vaccinations. Um, this last round, I'm sure you all remember the FDA had their meeting um, this summer and decided on the BA4, BA5 strain. So it took them 60 days to go from being told what strain to make to exporting millions of doses. Bancel said that he's hoping to shrink that down to 30 to 45 days. This would allow for our strains for each flu or COVID season to be very, very accurate because you're not being treated for the previous strain, you're being treated for the strain of that moment. All right. And then he also touched on he wants to roll out different strains for different parts of the world. So, if there is a mismatch where, let's say, we had variant number 10 and somebody else had variant number 11, that we would have the corresponding strains in each country. The personalized cancer vaccine data should be released this month. Yeah, I know. I wish they'd give us a day, but I think there are a number of reasons why they haven't released it yet that I've been speculating on. If you all message me, I will deliver it in the DMs, but yeah, I'll keep my opinion to myself for now. So next we have the respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV. The phase 3 is fully enrolled. They expect readouts this winter. Hogue actually even considered we may have some in December, but Bancel, the CEO, said that he would be shocked if we don't have a readout at least by January. Since the RSV cases are really high this year, it creates for a high incidence of disease, so you can prove quicker if your shot is working or not. So that's great. Then he touched on GSK's and Merck's RSV vaccines. Both of them had pretty good results, I think in the 70s. For efficacy, one thing he had mentioned was both of these were recombinant protein. I think Merck's is actually a live attenuated vaccine. But for recombinant proteins, the GSK is actually made in E. coli. And the synthesis machinery in a bacterial cell is significantly less accurate than it is for a eukaryotic cell. So if it was made in a fungus, it would be made more accurately than it was in E. coli, and it just keeps stepping up as it corresponds to the hierarchy of the animal. So if it was made in a cow or a pig, you'd be more accurate than a fungus, and then if it's made in our cells, it's made even more accurate than those. And so basically he's like, yeah, they got pretty good results, which I think means that our results will be pretty good. But their protein is not going to be a high quality like ours is. And if you actually go back to the 80s, insulin was done the same way. We originally used to use an E. coli cell to synthesize insulin, and it wasn't that accurate. And I'm sure you've heard, the patent for insulin has been expired for some time now, but that nobody wants to make it is because the insulin created back then is completely obsolete to the quality that we deliver now. And so that's what he was kind of saying. He said in a few words, and I just added a couple extra. I also dug deep and saw that their vaccines require mitogens, and I'll probably make a separate video going over why mitogens are not required in Moderna's vaccine and how they used to work versus how things will probably start working now that we have this type of platform. All right, next slide. We have the flu vaccinations. So he touched on the mRNA 1010 being in phase 3, and, how it's just a vaccine to the hemagglutinins. He touched on how the 1020 and 1030 are adding in the neuraminidase antibodies. He states that they do want to have up to 8 antigens for the flu. Some of this I believe I made a separate video on already, so I won't go into great detail. One of the analysts asked if there was a limit to the number of antigens that you could actually host in one of these vaccines, because the personalized cancer vaccine has 30 antigens, and Stephen Hogue, the president, mentioned, or Bancel quoted Hogue as mentioning that the human body has to respond to a large number of antigens in our daily life in order to just survive. We develop cancer every day in our life, and our body resolves it itself with our immune system. You are exposed to different bacterial, viral, fungal insults, and your body responds to it, without you even getting sick. And so, if your body is capable of responding to all these different antigens on a daily basis, that likely, there is probably a really, really high threshold for the number of antigens that they could host in their vaccines. All right, and then for the last slide here, the Moderna platform, and I've mentioned this on Reddit, but not in one of these videos. So, what the platform is, and everybody knows what mRNA is now, but their platform is that they don't want to reinvent things each time. They want to study things well, and then use that data they collected to apply to further things. So a good example is their metabolic diseases pipeline, right? So the stuff that they're learning from the treatment of the glycogen storage disease, GSD1A, is being applied to their propionic acidemia, right? So they didn't have to go all the way back and reinvent the wheel. They're like, okay, we built it to this point, and then from there we're going to branch it off. And once they prove that these two metabolic disease treatments work, they can then apply it to 36 other treatments. And the great thing about these metabolic diseases is that you don't have to have a phase 3 trial. So literally, they are doing combined phase 1 and 2 trials right now. And once those are done, and they have the green light from the FDA, they will go straight to treating patients. So, alright, that's it for today. Thank you for your time.